Hey there! Calle sent me a bunch of pens to review. It's very cool. And I received a lot of review requests for the Jinhao 500. But that's not what we're going to do today. Today we're going to look at the Jinhao 250, which is half of 500, because 500 divided by 2 is 250. Anything I just said didn't really make sense, and I apologize for the poor quality of that introduction. Now, this pen, very fascinating, a lot of metal, brushed chrome and gold highlights. I think it looks pretty nice, but it's definitely not for everyone. Let me cover the parts of the pen, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample. Top of the cap, finial, just a bit of black. Kind of weird because there's not really a lot of black on the pen apart from that, but okay. Gold ring there, and then this section which is so tight that I cannot really operate it without breaking a nail. Then we have this interesting texture on there and a J for Jinhao. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's right there. The cap, as I said, both cap and barrel, brushed chrome. I think it looks pretty cool. I've always had a thing for matte brushed chrome. And then you have the center band with Jinhao, and the cool thing about Jinhao is that they put the model numbers on the cap, which is useful if you don't really know what you're holding. Jinhao 250, and below that writing in Chinese characters, which I cannot write or read, both. Here we have a little bit of black plastic left, then another very thin gold colored ring, a tapered barrel, and then another gold end. Looks a lot like a piston filler, but it's not. The cap pops off, posts securely on the barrel, which I think is very cool. Then you have this very thin section. It's all very tapered looking, and then a decent nib. The nib says Jinhao, 18 kgp, 18 karat gold plating. Right, and a feed. Nothing fancy, but it is, I would say, number 5 nib, and it looks nice. Section, as you can see, very tapered, and these ribs, I know that MK Globetrotter is going to say something about for her pleasure, and you can hold them, and it does actually give a very decent grip. The pen is fed by a converter or standard international cartridges, and that's pretty much all there's to it. Notice the Lamy style converter they put in here, but it is actually by Jinhao. What do I like about the pen? What do I not like about the pen? Well, to be honest, I like the looks, but I have to admit I like the looks of the pen capped. I do not care so much for this very thin ribbed section. Yes, it is, because of the ribs, it does give you a good grip, but I find it very thin. And if you look at the whole thing, you may see how very thin it actually gets. And some people love that. So it's probably just a pet peeve of mine. I would have preferred a thicker section, also because that's easier for me to hold. Using this pen for a long time made my fingers cramp up. But then again, my hands are not so small. Maybe if you have smaller hands, that's not an issue for you. It's a decently sized pen, decently sized nib. I like the looks of the nib. My only issue was that it runs dry. When I prepare a pen for review, I always write a full page, and don't know how I can see it, but it actually runs dry to a point where it pretty much stops writing, and I had to squeeze ink, prime the feed by pushing some ink into the feed with the converter. That could be a thing of the nib. It has a very tight nib slit, so I would open that up a little bit, and then it would probably do a little bit better. Nicely made pen though. I like Jinhao pens. They are inexpensive, they do offer nice quality, and usually I find them very pleasant to use, which is very, very nice. So, Calle, thanks a lot for sending me this pen. Forgive me for butchering your name, which I may well have done. Let's take a couple of measurements, and then we'll do the writing sample. The weight of the pen is 38 grams, so it's not a super light one, but as I said, a lot of metal, including section. The capped length is 140.2 millimeters, uncapped 123, posted length is 156 millimeters, section diameter is 8.4 to 10.6 millimeters, and the barrel diameter is 10.4 to 12.6 millimeters. Let's see the pen in action. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye. Alright, so here we go with the Jinhao 250. The nib is a fine medium, and the ink is Diamine Apple Glory. It hardly fits, but it's Apple Glory. Writing is fairly smooth. It's not a bad nib. Let's see how well the feed keeps up. You see a little bit of a skip here and there, but it's definitely not terrible. As to wetness, I wouldn't call this the wettest pen I've ever used. Line variation, you can squeeze out a little bit. As you can see, the feed already starts to railroad there, so that is, the nib starts to railroad, the feed can't really keep up. You can squeeze out a little bit of line variation. And for those of you who enjoy reverse writing, to get a thinner line, that is possible, although I think at some point your writing will become illegible. So, there you have it. Calle, thank you for sending me this pen. I appreciate it. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.